Hello again, and welcome to our next episode in the animated Minecraft texture pack series. So, as you've probably noticed, I've been away for a while, and the reason for that, if you don't follow my Twitter, is that the day I got back to college, everything just kind of fell apart. My charger broke, and then my laptop ran out of power, so I had nothing available to me, but that should be all fixed soon. Right now I'm back home, so I was able to use another charger to make this video for you guys. So today we're going to actually make the furnace. I figured, you have animated fire, why isn't the fire animated inside the furnace? So let's start with that right away. Alright, now that we're in the Minecraft world, as you can see, I slowed this down a little bit more just because I felt like it was still a little bit distracting, as well as some people in the comments. And he also went ahead and did the golden rail the same type. So here we have a furnace. And what it's like when we turn it on is nothing special. Oop. There we go. And it just burns. Usually there's that little animation there as far as the particles, but the actual furnace itself doesn't do anything. So that's what we're going to fix. So the first thing we're going to open is actually firezero.png. So let's open that in GIMP. Now the firezero.png will allow us to use something that Mojang has already created for us that looks very good and utilize that in our texture. So let's make that a little bit larger. Now, the obvious problem is that this is going to be too tall for the furnace, because as you've probably seen, the furnace is only about the bottom half is where the fire appears. So we want to make this a little bit smaller. So in order to do that, what we do is we choose the selector tool. We select what we want to change. And we're actually going to be using a new tool today, and that is the scale tool. And that's you can use by doing Shift T. So hold down Shift T, and this is what you get. Now, if you can just put in the numbers right here, however, what happens when you do that, let's say half the height, is it moves up. We want this to go downwards because that's where the base of the furnace is. So instead, we're actually going to have to bring that back to 16 and select this area here and move that down. Now you can see as the height moves down to 8 pixels. Press enter, and here we have a much lower fire. Now you just by pressing, nope, not that, R, you return to this. Click, and it brings that to the current layer. Select again. Shift T, move down to 8. Enter R, click. And we repeat this for the entire texture. Now, while I do this, I'm going to now that I have the opportunity to discuss some things. There's a couple of comments in the last video about what I should do next. One of them being the beacon block. Now, the beacon block is something, as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, something I really want to be able to do. It's already animated in a way, and it's just something that would be, I think, really cool. However, there is a slight problem in that if you really think about it, the actual motion itself in the beacon block is calculated not via texture, but using the programming. And then it's that texture that's inside, that's moving around, that we would actually be further changing. Now, I can't think of a way that I would like to do that. Maybe you can, and so that's something you can talk about in the comments. Give me ideas for how you want to see the beacon block animated. That'd be fantastic. Now, The second thing that same person brought up is animating the textures of mobs. Now, here's the thing. I'd love to do that, but mobs cannot be animated in these snapshots. Maybe that's a feature that Mojang will add in the future, but as of now, mobs cannot be animated. So, if that may be a disappointment to some of you, but it's out of my hands. So we're just going to continue doing this all the way down, and I'll meet you when I'm back. So now we have a completed fire texture all the way down. Everything's half size, so it looks wonderful. So what we want to do next is actually add in the furnace texture. So we're going to go File, Open as Layers, and we are going to select the furnace texture. So here it is, the furnace front lit.png, and we're going to press Open and bring that right in. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is go to Layers, Layer to Image Size. Actually, we're going to undo that. And first what we're actually going to do is go to the Move tool. And we're going to move that all the way to the top. And that way we'll just have something that's much easier to handle. There we go. Image, layer to image size. There we go. I'm going to hide that. Zoom in one more time. Select the eraser, hard edge, size 1. Now we can just erase this old texture, seeing as this is something that we don't want. And there we go. Go back to select and just copy it and paste it. Probably go out a little bit just to make it a little faster. And all you have to do is continue to paste the object all the way down to the bottom. And I'll meet you when I'm back. So here we have the completed version. You can see as we come down, it changes slightly. But there are some issues, but notably here, you can still see a lot of the alpha. So to fix that, what we're going to do is add a brand new texture. So go to this little page and to the right, add a new texture. Layer name, we're just going to keep it as layer, same width and height. And let's make this look like there's a background color. Okay. We want this to be our bottom layer, and then that will cover this. However, we don't want it white. So instead, what we're going to do is going to add some coloring. So let's get rid of these and select some good main colors. So here, I'm thinking we want a nice deep red for our first color. Press X. Say that again. And probably a nice yellow. This will add a high amount of contrast to our image. Now, finally, we're going to press the gradient. Gradient, well, blend tool, I suppose, is called, essentially adds a gradient as for your texture. Now, we're actually going to zoom out a bit so we can see the entire texture, like this. Now, we want it to be something that's repeatable. So instead of linear, we're going to choose bilinear. And what we do is we select the center, which is where we want, oops, so let's go like this. So our red is in the center. And that's where you press it, and then where it begins to change. So let's say right about there's a good spot. Maybe a little bit further. Maybe a bit more. I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. Ooh, that's not supposed to happen. Oh, I accidentally pressed that, that's why. Alright, so here we have our gradient. Now the purpose for this is that as each time frame goes forward, the background alpha changes slightly. And so what you have is this soft glow kind of going back and forth. Now this won't be really apparent because the fire is in front of it. However, it'll be really subtle and it'll have a nice effect. So now we have our completed furnace texture. And let's export this. And let's just save it in this area because that's what we normally do. And we'll save it as furnace underscore front underscore lit.png. Press the export button, export again, and close. And let's get to our texture pack. Sure enough, here it is, textures, blocks. And let's add the good old furnace front lit. Brings our total number of animated textures to 3 that we've created ourselves, plus 4 for the portal, 5, 6 for the change textures. So let's check the new texture out. Alright, so here we are back in the world. Let's just turn this off so it's not distracting. And let's grab a bit of fuel. Oop. Actually, why not? That'll keep it going for a while. And there you go. It's light in the background of the furnace. You can see the fire moving, and if you look closely behind the particles, you can kind of see the gradient change as well, adding a very nice effect. So now we've learned today about how to create that partial texture that changes whenever you activate the furnace. It animates and has a change in gradient. So let's take a quick look over here. As it turns out, I was completely wrong. There is no animation inside of here, which is good for us because what that means is there's nothing to distract. We can just animate this little square in the beacon right here, and we can do pretty fancy stuff. That being said, still want to hear your suggestions. What do you think we should do for the beacon? Love to hear your comments, and just leave those on YouTube or say it on Twitter. Where did our stuff go? Ah, there we go. And thank you very much, guys. I will try to upload another video as soon as I can, but given the circumstances with my charger, I don't know how soon that will be. But thank you guys for all your support, and have a good day. See you next time.